Hello everyone, my name is Heather and welcome to my channel Bookables. Today I'm here to do another recent reads. I try to do these every month, at least once a month. I would like to do multiple ones, but time. But today I'm going to share with you 4 books that I've read recently in February and tell you what my thoughts and feelings are on them. So I'm going to have timestamps down below in case you want to hear about one particular book. But the books I'll be talking about today, it's a hodgepodge of genres, so get ready. We have Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey, The Writing Retreat by Julie Bartz, My Phony Valentine by Courtney Walsh, and Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. So like I said, we got a lot of different genres in here, so let's get into it. First up, the newest book from Tessa Bailey, Secretly Yours. I love Tessa Bailey, you guys know this. She writes a lot of steamy romances that I quite frankly enjoy. This is her latest one, and it is like perfect in time for Valentine's Day for this month. So in case you wanted a book, since it's past, can't recommend it now, but if you want a Valentine's Day book for next year, maybe check it out. I mean, pink, it's good to read any time of the year. But anyway, this follows a character named Hallie, who is a gardener, and she has had this like crush on this guy for like forever, named Julian, and they kind of almost shared a kiss a long time ago in high school, and it never really happened. But now he's back in town because his family owns this vineyard, and so he's back in town, and she's like, maybe if I run into him again, like maybe something will happen. And so she ends up gardening for, like, putting together like a garden for his mom, and so they run into each other, and they're very opposites. Like, Hallie is very just, she'll go by the seat of her pants. She's very free-spirited. She doesn't mind getting dirty. Nothing's on schedule. And Julian is very opposite. He is very rigid, and he has to follow a schedule. He's here to write a book, so he doesn't want to mess up his schedule. So when Hallie comes into his life, of course, his schedule gets messed up. Overall, I gave it a 3 out of 5. It was cute. It wasn't one of my favorite Tessa Bailey books. I would have to say it's probably one of the weaker ones in my opinion. The romance was cute, but I just wasn't buying it. I don't know. I just wasn't invested in it. As in other of her romances in her books, this one I wasn't feeling the vibe between these two characters. It wasn't a hate to love. It wasn't like a second chance really, because it never really happened. It was just kind of a, hey, I'm here, you're here. I don't know how to explain it, but I will say I loved Hallie as a character. She was really great. Like, she had like 3 dogs, and she would be places late, and she would garden, and she wouldn't have a specific plan for gardening. She would be like, wherever the flowers look good, if it wants to go there, it goes there. I really liked Hallie a lot. Julian had a lot going on. He was kind of trying to redo his life because one of his coworkers kind of ran himself like ragged and had like a panic attack at work, so Julian's trying to change that. But he was so rigid, and of course throughout the book you see him kind of lose that rigidness and embrace kind of Hallie's freestyle life, while she kind of learns to maybe be a little bit more better with boundaries and time management and things like that. I mean, it was okay. I didn't bash it. It's not like one of my least favorite books I read, but as far as Tessa Bailey goes, it would be kind of on the lower pegs of the ladder, not up on the higher ones, like where Reborn Yesterday, It Happened One Summer, even I will say Fixer Up's kind of up there. This one's kind of down in the middle near the bottom. It just wasn't there for me, and I think the main drawback I had with it was the romance. I just wasn't in love with the romance as much as I wanted it to be. But hey, if you're just looking for a steamy, fun, good time, Tessa Bailey will do you no wrong, so 3 out of 5. Meanwhile, going on to my next one, The Writing Retreat. So I was very highly anticipating this one. I saw this one on NetGalley in 2022, and I was like, oh, I really want to read this year because the premise sounds so amazing. It's all about this character named Alex who gets an opportunity to go in this writing retreat by like her favorite horror author ever named Rosa. And you're like, oh, that sounds amazing. Like a bunch of women go on this writing retreat where they write, and like each of them has to write their own book within a month, and whoever writes the best book gets published and like a lot of money. And you're with this notorious, amazing horror author. Like that sounds amazing. It wasn't. The reviews on this one are kind of mixed. I may be on the controversial side where I just really didn't like it. I gave it a 2 out of 5. I did not like this book. This was not for me. First of all, the characters are unlikable. That doesn't mean it's a down boat immediately for that, but Usually I have a hard time with really unlikable characters. I feel like the writing has to be subpar. I feel like the writing has to be amazing for me to really like books that have really unlikable characters. There's been times, You by Carola Kepnes, just the first one, no other ones. That one. In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, great one. The Guest List by Lizzie Foley are three I can think of in particular where all of them were unlikable characters, but I end up loving the book. But for the majority of the time, it doesn't happen for me. Another one is this book was so slow, like, oh my gosh. Like, Alex gets to the retreat, everything's great. She kind of is also paired with her ex-best friend that had something happen in the past and they don't talk to each other anymore, so you got that mystery going on. But it took forever for things to get thrilling. Like, the first 70% boring, the last 30% bananas. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. For this, for me, it did not work. Like, the last quarter of it was just everything. The author's just like, whatever, let's just throw whatever at it and let's see what happens. And that's how I feel with it. I did not enjoy it. I don't know. I just thought they could have done so much more with being in this really old Gothic manor, secluded up in the mountains where it's snowing, because this book takes place during the whole month of February. And I thought they could do more with that, but they didn't. And I feel like the whole many twists there are, they didn't, like, I didn't see a lot of them coming. Like, I kind of had a vague feeling, but when they got there, I wasn't like, oh my gosh. I was like, yeah, that tracks, you know, that makes sense. I wasn't like floored by any of them. I don't know. I just didn't enjoy this book, sad to say. Maybe a lot of people have read it and they loved it, and if so, I am so happy for them. But for me, I just did not enjoy it. Wasn't for me. Sad. I'm very sad to say. Like, I think I even put this on my 5-star predictions of the year, so I'm disappointed. I'm sad. Next up, we have My Phony Valentine by Courtney Walsh. This one I read, you guessed it, because it says Valentine in it, and it was super cute. If you're looking for a great, clean romance, I'd say Courtney Walsh is a way to go. This follows a character named Poppy who owns this restaurant. It's like a brunch restaurant, which, yes. And basically one day she's at a coffee shop and she kind of runs into her arch nemesis, like, you know, the girl that's mean and she just hates everybody and you're like, you're the worst, like, you know, those girls. And so the girl's like, oh, you're single, everything's going crappy, and Poppy runs into a guy and she's like, oh no, actually this is my boyfriend. And who is it but like this famous, I don't remember his name because I read this on ebook, I want to say Josh, I don't know, let's call him Josh. And she's like, hey, this is my boyfriend. And so he gets her out of a kind of bind by pretending to be her boyfriend. And they decide, hey, maybe this can kind of be a mutual beneficial relationship. So they decide to fake date, and she has to attend his hockey games and he has to go to a restaurant. And it's super cute. It is corny as mess. I'm not going to lie to you. It is corny. Like, it is cheesy and corny, but I ate that cheese and corn up. I don't know, popcorn. There you go. But I really enjoyed it. It was super cute. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. If you're just looking for a clean romance with a Valentine Day, because this takes place in a city called Loveland, and of course with a city called like that, they really make a big emphasis on Valentine's Day every single year. It was super cute. I enjoyed it. Happy to have read it. And last up, we have Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. Baldree, yeah. So I read this because everyone was talking about it last year, and I decided to give it a whirl, and I'm so glad I did, because this is just really amazing. I compare this one to House by the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. This is about a character named Viv who is an orc. She's amazing, and she's like ready to hang up her battle sword. She's ready to be done with the bloodshed, and she wants to open up her own coffee shop in a town where they've never heard of coffee before. And so they have to literally, she goes through that. Like, she cleans out this old place that used to be like a horse barn, and she like hire somebody to help her like get the beans and coffee, and they even hire like this kind of rat kind of character, and he's a baker and he makes cinnamon rolls, and it's just so warm and inviting. It just reminds me a lot of like kind of Dungeons and Dragons and Warcraft, and I was there for that. I loved that. I loved Warcraft. I had a big problem with Warcraft, like obsessive wise. But I loved it. I gave it a 5 out of 5. If you're just looking for a cozy time in a book, like, this is great. This is like literally building a cafe where like no one's really ever heard of a cafe. Like, they have musicians come in. He's like, maybe I could play here. And then like they think, maybe we should have like sell mugs where people can take with them. And it's like, you're like, well, duh, but you're like, in this world, cafes really don't exist. So it's kind of its first foray into it. And it's just really fun to read about. I loved it. Highly, highly recommend. A perfect book to warm you out of your winter blues for sure. 5 out of 5. So there you have my thoughts and feelings on 4 reads. I have to say, majority of them were successful despite one thriller that I was really let down by, but you win some and you lose some. That's how it goes with reading, much with anything else in life. I would love to know if you've read any of these. Did I sway you to read one or maybe not sway you to read one? Please let me know your thoughts and feelings down below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.